Yo, what's good, everyone? My name is Boxing Guru, and welcome back to my channel. If you have watched my recents, and if you're new, if you like what you see, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the videos, and go hit up the recent videos. So today we're going to be talking about the shit show. This Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank, or however you want to say it, because let's be honest, this fight does not need to happen. This fight is why boxing is in a shit show at the moment. We've got all these good fights happening. We just had Benavidez versus Andreas, and if I'm honest, that fight slipped my mind. Like I knew it was happening, but come Saturday night, because I'm from the UK, that fight slipped my mind, and it was like out. I just forgot. I watched the highlights, and sorry, I had a bit of a. I watched the highlights, and that fight was one hell of a fight. And they're the fights that should be happening. They're the fights that should have the attraction to boxing fans. But yeah, and I didn't even know Jamal Charlo was fighting Jose Benavidez as well. I didn't know I didn't know these fights were happening. I knew the David Benavidez one was happening, but the Charlo versus Benavidez Jr., I weren't so sure about that one. But it's like there's no hype around these big fights, and that's obviously in boxing. That's why they don't happen. In UFC, they're easy, like things like the UFC, they're easy to make because it's one organisation. There's only one promoter, and that's how it goes down. But in boxing, there's a massive problem with everyone's just so money hungry and greedy, and that's the one thing that really annoys me about boxing. Like by now we should have had Wilder versus Joshua, Fury versus Joshua. We should have had them fights years ago, you know. Like the undisputed, like Tyson Fury didn't want to fight the undisputed, because he thought there's no money in it. Which, if I'm honest, he's true. But if it was with Usyk, should I say? But going back to it. Like the fights, it's a shame really, because like these two, like there's a family rivalry, yeah, from the 90s or so, but like there's no beef between these two. The only reason there's beef is homemade beef. There we go. There's homemade beef between these two. One's a middleweight, super middleweight, you could argue, and one's a welterweight. That's ridiculous that these two are even fighting. Like the weight divisions are there for a reason, and that weight cut that Junior made, and that them two had to make before the fight got called off, was absolutely ridiculous. And this fight should be boycotted. This fight should not be happening. And I'm an Eddie Hearn fan, right? But the thing is, this fight should not be happening. He should not be promoting this fight. This is some gimme fight, no. In my opinion, the only way this fight's gonna happen, and I don't see Eddie Hearn doing this by himself now that the Saudi money's there. I feel like that's gonna be through. I feel like that's gonna go down like that. But this fight, it's gonna happen regardless. Absolutely stupid. I think Chris Junior should go about his business and actually try and make some noise after beating Liam Smith. Because I think he looked amazing in that fight, and I feel like him fighting where it matters. I feel like that's where his legacy is gonna lay, like his father, you know, and Conor Benn's father. But like I said, it's like these sorts of fights are getting overshadowed. No, sorry, the Benavidez fights with with Charlo and Andreas, they're getting overlooked by these stupid fights like this. These stupid fights that doesn't make sense. It's like they're now talking about Spence versus Canelo. Like, I'm sitting here with my hands in my head over that. Like, just stay in your lane. Like these little fights, the fights like that, they just wind me up. And I feel that boxing has a massive problem. That it's a shame because the Spence versus Crawford fight, them guys probably made nowhere near the money they should have for fighting each other. Probably the second fight's probably going to be massive, completely. It's going to be massive, and I can't wait to see that fight if it happens. Like them sort of fights like that, where the fights that matter should have the more traction. They should earn the more money, the money that they deserve. Because at the end of the day, that's why most of these undisputed fights don't happen, because there's no money in them. And the only money fights that happen are these stupid gimme fights, like Conor Benn versus Eubank. It's ridiculous. But and listen, if you're a fan of that fight, please don't subscribe to my channel, because I'm not sitting here. Please don't comment on this video either. I'm not sitting here arguing with people who think this fight is a good fight. So you can comment if you want. You're not going to get a response back from me. But that's literally all I'm going to say from on this. And if it happens, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But for now, until there's nothing going on with it, it's just talks, it's just ways to get clicks on YouTube from these stupid reporters and that. I'm not going to talk about it, but hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully we get some actual fights to happen that matter in boxing now. So because this year has been amazing for boxing. We've had Demetrius Andrea versus Benavidez. We've had Charlo versus Jose, as I've said a few times. And they're the fights I want to see in boxing, proper fights. And I want them to get the attraction that they deserve. But if you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment comments down below. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon, guys. Thank you.